ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Before we continue, we'll take a brief recap of yesterday's discussion. We looked further, deeper into action, analysis of action. The wise should not confuse the ignorant. This is a very important piece of advice for all of us. Those of us who consider ourselves wise, that itself is a question mark, but we should not sermonize to people. Don't disturb other people. Why? Because gunas function, nature functions. But Atman is perfect. So when you identify with Atman, or to the extent you identify with Atman in you, you don't see imperfections outside in people. You see perfection. Like Krishna addresses Arjuna as Anagha. Anagha means without sin. The reality was that Arjuna was a confused guy like any one of us. But Krishna sees only Atman in him. And that is the trick, how you don't get affected by stupidity around you. Rise above it. The law is attach, you suffer, detach, you enjoy. Anything in the world you want to enjoy, you must be detached from it. To the extent you're attached, you will suffer. That's a law. You will suffer during the interaction and you will lose the object of attachment. Even if it's an inanimate object, you lose. I don't know whether you've noticed your favorite shirt. Huh? Only on that you go and drop curry. Haldi stain remains forever on that. So many other clothes you're not particularly attached to, nothing happens to them. And we looked at the 6-point plan to perfect action. So, sorry? 6. So, see, in life, in the beginning, life seems good. You are full of desires, you have desires, the world is abuzz with objects of desire, it seems a perfect match. So you go all out and indulge. Then come the setbacks, the obstacles, the frustration. Happiness is elusive, you can't get it. A mature individual, see, when that happens, and it happens to all of us, you must think. You were born to think, na? You were born with a mind and intellect. Think what has gone wrong. So the wise understand there are only 2 constants in life. One is change, the other is suffering. It's a given. You have to develop the strength not to get affected by the change and not to suffer. See, suffering is a given. But you have the choice. Pain is a given. You have the choice not to suffer. Exercise that choice. Every enjoyment is marred by fear. The rich fear thieves. A beautiful woman fears ugliness, old age. A wise person fears loss of knowledge, memory, dementia. And so on and so forth. We are all full of fear. How to end the suffering? We have a ready-made prescription for us, which Vedanta, the Bhagavad Gita, offers us. And we are the utter fools not to help ourselves to it. How many Indians even know the Bhagavad Gita? How many Indians even know how to pronounce the Bhagavad Gita? The people who say Bhagavad, Bhagavad and Bhagavad Gita are poles apart. So, the Bhagavad Gita puts us on the fast track to excellence. And how does it do that? It consists of three pathways. Very simple. One is sincerity of action, the other is purity of heart, and the third is clarity of thought. So, when we act, we have the choice of acting with the attitude of giving or taking. We have discussed this, but we're talking about it again because it's summarized in one fast track to excellence. And as we enter the end of this series of lectures, we must have some call to action. What are we going to act on from Monday onwards? This sincerity of action, purity of heart, clarity of thought. You'll remember this, right? Chapter-3, you'll forget. But this you must remember. At any time, if you just entertain the thought of taking, that moment you're impoverished. It functions 100% of the time. You don't see it, that's your bad luck. But you should have the thinking to be able to see it. Anytime you think of giving, that moment you're enriched. It's a law. How it happens, I don't know. There was a fabulous police officer, not very senior, not commissioner of police or anything, just an ordinary police officer. His entire life, he was helpful to people. Anybody, anytime would call him and say, I have this problem, can you help me? Not for police purposes, anything. I lost my ration card, can you help me? You know, in those days, ration card was a big thing. He would go all out to help. And in those days, especially 50 years back, you know what a police officer's salary was. And he was an honest guy, not corrupt. But, so because he was a giver, he looked after his father's sister who had no children. So when in her old age, he looked after her. She willed her flat to him. South Bombay flat. His father's brother had a handicapped son. He took care of that son. So the father's brother willed that flat to him in Churchgate. Now you can imagine how much it's worth. And a third flat he got, I don't know how. So he ended up absolutely honest, upright police officer, not corrupt, with 3 flats being willed to him. How? Just because he had the attitude of giving. Now, had he started a business and become a businessman in those days, it is impossible that he would have had 3 flats. This is a true story, and I knew the man. He's no more, of course. And to top it all, because he was an upright, no hanky-panky, no corruption, no nothing, he slept peacefully all his life. He was a happy individual. When you're a giver, you're happy. And he grew. Within himself, he grew spiritually. So 3 things happen with this. So that is the thing. The second is purity of heart. Purity of heart is something where you reach out to people with affection, with feeling. You know, as I was coming on Marine Drive, I saw these guys working on the coastal road. laborers in filth. Of course, they have gumboots and all that, but they're working in filth. And then I thought, in all the luxurious buildings, these guys, poor chaps, are working. Once it's ready, they have to exit, leave, and go to another dirty place. They never experience the joy of what they produce, right? Should you not think? Let them have better living conditions. Treat them like human beings. Just a thought. And then you come back to, well, you will say, I can't do anything about them. Yes, but you can do something about your own people. Huh? Your servants, your driver. Have you ever thought, where do they live? How do they commute? Can I do something for them to improve their living conditions? You can't take the stand. They were born there, let them live in the slums. What nonsense. It is the responsibility of every one of us to reach out to them. Just feel for them. Say a kind word. Smile. And when you feel for people, when you reach out to people, they will give their life for you. Even in this day and age where everyone is concerned about money, remember one thing: it is not money that keeps them, it is a good heart that keeps them. So, how long do your servants work for you? Do your servants change every 6 months, every 2, 3 years? Then that is a reflection of your character. If they stay with you for a lifetime, then that is a feather in your cap. Some people stay in spite of the employer being bad. That's a different story. But that's what it is. Purity of heart. And this is the call to action, right? The call to action is every time, see, it's like this. There's a poem called The Nightingale and the Glowworm. Again, it's taught to kids. Very simple. So it's about the nightingale who had sung all night and is hungry. So as dawn approaches, he's looking for food. He sees a glowworm, because you can spot a glowworm in the dark very easily, and is about to pounce on the glowworm and eat it up, when the glowworm sees what's happening and quickly goes out of reach. And the glowworm tells the nightingale this. Remember this. He says, "Did you admire my lamp as much as I your minstrelsy? If only you admired my light as much as I admire your singing, you would abhor to do me wrong as much as I to spoil your song. You wouldn't want to do me harm, just as I don't want to spoil your song." And then he concludes, "For 'twas the self same power divine taught you to sing and me to shine, that you with music and I with light might beautify and cheer the night." What a beautiful poem. So you must always, it makes your hair stand on end when you think like this. And if all your life you remember this nightingale and the glowworm when you look at people and reach out to them with your emotions, then you build teams, very strong teams. And nobody can break those teams. They go beyond the call of duty to work for you. And it's a beautiful team put together. Your work becomes successful. You're extraordinarily successful. You're happy. Love gives happiness. Hatred gives you sorrow. But the love we profess to have is polluted with selfishness. You say, yes, of course, I love people. I love my spouse, I love my children, but that is tainted with selfishness, which is why you have expectations from them, you make demands on them, and when these demands and expectations are not met with, you get angry, you get frustrated, and You express that anger and it causes conflict between you and your loved ones. Have you ever wondered, why is it that I have problems with the people I love most? Is that not true? It's because of this. It's not because of your love, it's because of the selfishness that is riding on the love. So, what the Gita says is continue to love, but drop the selfishness. This is purity of heart. And anybody who has this purity of heart is adored by people, is all people go towards, the Oliver Goldsmith talks about the village preacher like that. He had universal love. He had love for all the village folk. The children would come and attract his attention. Adults would come flocking towards him just because he had affection for them. And the last is clarity of thought. You must understand that all the success that you have, whatever you have achieved, is temporary. It will go sometime. Again, there's another fabulous poem called Even This Will Pass Away. It talks about a king in Persia. Once in Persia reigned a king who, upon a signet ring, a signet ring, carved a maxim, strange and wise, when held before his eyes, gave him counsel at a glance, fit for every change and chance. Solemn words, and these were they, even this will pass away. Then the poet describes his experiences. Meet the pleasures of his court, when the palms of all his guests burned with clapping at his jest. When you're rich and famous, even if you say stupid things, people will clap. Said the king, our friends of mine, pleasure comes, but not to stay. Even this will pass away. Then he gets married. When a king gets married, who will he marry? Woman fairest ever seen was the bride he crowned as queen. Pillowed on the marriage bed, whispering to his soul, he said, though no monarch ever pressed fairer bosom to his breast, mortal flesh is only clay, even this will pass away. This was on his wedding day. He told himself that, not her. Then he gets hurt. He goes to battle and he gets hurt, injured. And when the soldiers are carrying him back, he says, pain is hard to bear, but with patience, day by day, even this will pass away. Whatever pain you go through, you must have the same attitude. Then he becomes famous. They make a statue of him, 40 cubits in the air. There's a pun on in the air. All fame is in the air, Hava. And the king, disguised unknown, went there, gazed upon his sculptured name, and he pondered, what is fame? Fame is but a slow decay. Even this will pass away. Fabulous. Even when you're right on top with all the fame and name and money and all of that, you must remember this will pass. Then he gets old, struck with palsy, sore and old, waiting at the gates of gold. Said he with his dying breath, life is done, but what is death? And as answer to the king fell a heavenly sunbeam on his ring, showing by a fell a sunbeam on his ring, showing by a heavenly ray, even this will pass away. So during your lifetime, if you understand that everything in the world will pass and you're established in the permanent, or at least you're looking for the permanent, when death comes to you, you will face it with the same strength and fortitude with which you face life. Take us, nobody is prepared for death. Are we? And the truth is, at any age, death may come. It's the one thing that we are all guaranteed, the only thing we are totally unprepared for. So, live your life based on these three. What must we do tomorrow onwards? Get up, act, think of giving in and through every action. Giving doesn't mean money, please. So don't get scared. Giving is giving of yourself, your heart, I don't know how to put it. When Shabari heard that Ram was passing by, she was so excited. She wanted to give something to Ram. This is the first time she's seeing him. But she had nothing. She was a poor tribal woman. And there's a Marathi bhajan which is so beautiful. She says, I am not Sita the Rajkumari. I'm just a poor tribal woman. But all I want is to see you, to fall at your feet. My heaven is at your feet. And then she thinks, she looks up and sees berries, wild berries on the tree. She plucks them and decides to offer them. But then the thought comes, what if they're not sweet? I can't offer the Lord anything that is not sweet. So she does something that in the Indian culture is absolutely unacceptable. She tastes every berry before offering. And the juta, even among us, is not allowed, and to the Lord, certainly not. But Ram accepted this devout offering of Shabari, and in that she gained realization. So, giving, you might say, I'm not a billionaire. Arey, you don't have to be. What you give of yourself, your heart and soul, including money, it doesn't exclude money, is what matters. Hmm? So, with this, we now move to verse 31.
ये मे मतमिदं नित्यम् अनुतिष्ठन्ति मानवाः श्रद्धावन्तो न सूयन्तः मुच्यन्ते तेऽपि कर्मभिः.
They are also freed from actions, who always follow my teaching with Shraddha, faith, free from malice. See, the first thing that he emphasizes on is that whatever you do, but particularly in learning, your mind must be free from malice and doubt and suspicion. You can't be coming here and say, I don't know if Krishna existed or not. Well, that's at least a valid question. But who knows whether he was realized or not? Arey, who cares whether he was realized or not? That's not the point. The point is, you badly need the wisdom. And here, it's like going to a doctor and say, I don't know whether he passed his FRCS or not. What kind of question is this? You will never benefit from the doctor's advice if you go with suspicion. This doesn't mean blind belief. You do your tracking, you do your background check. But once you decide that here is a doctor who has the knowledge to help me out of my problem, then don't question. And that too irrelevant questions. Similarly, you Krishna and Arjuna were dear friends. Arjuna had complete faith in him. That's why he was free from malice. And he benefited from the knowledge. And then the next thing is you must have Shraddha. What is Shraddha? Joe Goldsmith talks about Shraddha. Shraddha is translated as faith. It's a poor translation. The English language is hopelessly inadequate in communicating Vedanta. But then you might ask, why am I speaking English? Because the educated class in this country are all English speaking, including me. I think in English. So that's it. Joe Goldsmith says, faith is belief in a thing you do not know until you come to know what you believe in. So don't let go till you come to know. Rabindranath Tagore puts it poetically. He was a poet. He said, it is like the bird that feels the light and sings while the dawn is still dark. So wonderful. If you wake up early morning, let's say 4 o'clock you wake up, it is absolutely still. Even traffic is the least minimum. Why? Because all the party goers have already gone back home and slept. and the milkmen and all that haven't yet woken up. So 4 a.m. still, no birds chirping also. Then there is a point where it's still dark, but suddenly the birds come alive. The birds start chirping. Hmm? The pigeons, the crows, the parrots, so on and so forth. There's activity. So that's what he's saying. How does the bird know that the sun is going to rise? That is faith. You feel the light and sing while the dawn is still dark. We are in darkness, but we feel the light of Atman. There is something inside us that says, yes, there must be something. And you celebrate Atman when you are still in the dark. That is Shraddha. And Shankaracharya defines it as the ability of the intellect to take in knowledge, reflect over it, manana, go over it, absorb it into your system till it becomes an inseparable part of you. Till you live it, you don't let go. This is Shraddha. Shraddha is the most important thing that determines your success. Not talent, not IQ, not wealth, not resources. Anybody who has Shraddha attains success. Because Shraddha is what enables you to convert knowledge to wisdom, information to transformation, sight to insight, tuition to intuition. And then you move from speaking words of wisdom to living it. Then you stop talking. Means all that chatter stops. So what he's saying is they are also freed from action. He's saying also because karma yoga is not the only path. There is bhakti yoga and jnana yoga also. But those who follow the teaching means follow verse 30, the formula for perfect action. If you follow that, with Shraddha, free from malice, you will become free from action. Free from action means desire. Desire means thought. Thought means vasana, means you will become a purified individual and evolve spiritually. 32.
ये त्वेतदभ्यसूयन्तः नानुतिष्ठन्ति मे मतम् सर्वज्ञानविमूढांस्तान् विद्धि नष्टान चेतसः.
But know them to be destroyed, who, deluded of all knowledge and without discrimination, decry my teaching and do not follow it. So, in verse 30, he gives the prescription for perfect action. In 31, he says those who follow it will become free from action, means they will evolve spiritually apart from getting success and happiness. This verse, he says, you really don't have a choice. Don't follow it, you will be destroyed. So it's not as if he's cursing, he is just stating a fact. Trying to live life without knowing the technique of living is like driving a very powerful sports car when you don't know how to drive. So, what is guaranteed? Accident is for sure. Destruction. Once many years ago, we travel for lectures. Happened to be in Singapore, and our host took us to a restaurant for lunch. And Singapore is ups and downs, so it happened to be on a hill. And he had a racing car, Porsche. He made the mistake of giving it for valet parking. That poor guy didn't know how powerful it was. He sat in it and just put his foot on the accelerator. Next thing you know, this car has flown. Literally, it flew off the hill and landed down on a busy street at the signal. Luckily for him, It landed on all four tires and nobody got hurt. It's a miracle. But we were wondering, one moment the car is there, next moment is gone. So this is it. In the world is full of temptations. As science and technology has made the world almost impossible to live without knowing this technique of living. Without having a strong intellect, before you know what's happening, you'll fall for something or the other. And you're gone, right? Children, it starts with addiction. They're addicted to the cell phone, addicted to videos, addicted to, what are they called? Video games. Oh my God, that's another thing. So by the time they're 8, they're finished, they're addicted. So what future do they have? So you have to be extra careful. And now parents don't have the technique. So how will you? 33.
सदृशं चेष्टते स्वस्याः प्रकृतेर्ज्ञानवानपि प्रकृतिं यान्ति भूतानि निग्रह किं करिष्यति.
Even a knowledgeable person acts according to his or her own nature. Beings follow their nature. What can suppression achieve? Now, when you read this verse, you will feel extremely disappointed and say, what is the point of studying? Might as well give up and go. No. What he's saying is that all of us, are a tangible, substantial form of intangible, insubstantial vasanas. Even though they are subtle, they're very powerful. And you have developed these vasanas over many, many janmas, not just a few years. If you don't want to accommodate janma, at least your lifetime you have acquired vasanas, right? They're not so easy to overcome. So he is only cautioning us, don't expect immediate results. In other words, on Monday morning, don't expect to take off. It's not going to happen. But it will happen. It's a question of time. And it depends on how much effort you put in and what your present status is. Beings follow their own nature. This is true even in the animal kingdom. We've seen this. A lion kills an animal and eats. A hyena eats dead meat. Cow eats grass. And you and I can eat a variety of things. We have our own preferences, our nature. One person is ill-tempered, another person is a patient person, understanding person. One person is aggressive, another person is timid and submissive. You can't change this overnight. One person is selfish, another person is unselfish. One is a criminal, another is a sage. But you have the tool of self-effort. And with that self-effort, you can gradually bring about the change. Like we saw yesterday, Valmiki, a dacoit, became a Saptarishi. And there's hope for us. So, what must you do? Don't expect results. Just sow the seed. Just do what you have to do. Do it wholeheartedly, moment to moment, day by day, with enthusiasm, with conviction. And the result will come. It does come. It has to come. So, that assurance he gives, but don't expect immediate results. Next, 34.
इन्द्रियस्येन्द्रियस्यार्थे रागद्वेषौ व्यवस्थितौ तयोर्न वशमागच्छेत् तौघस्य परिपन्थिनौ.
Attraction and repulsion towards sense objects rest in the sense organs. Nobody should be controlled by these two, one's enemies. So, this is a verse in which he refers to likes and dislikes, desire as enemy, paripanthina. He uses three other words before the chapter ends. Vairin, enemy. Nitya Vairin, constant enemy of the wise. And finally, Shatru. Four words to mean enemy he uses to describe desire. And what are we doing with desire? Encouraging it, nourishing it, nurturing it, making friends with it. It's like the one thing that is destroying you, you're making friends with. And the whole financial system, the economies of the world revolve around our desires, right? So, if you don't buy more, if you don't consume more, the presidents and prime ministers of countries get upset. As George Bush once told Americans, buy more, have more. Hmm? So if all of us turn Vedantins, George Bush will. But you don't need to fall a prey to this. You have to stand up against it and say, I will buy what I want. See, the whole thing is so ridiculous. You buy more than what you need. There are people, do you know that in America, an average American buys 50 sets of clothes per year, 50. That in itself is not so bad, but look at the environmental disaster that it creates. All the chemicals and dyes that go into the manufacture, it's mind-boggling. Fortunately for them, fortunately for the world, there is Africa and India and countries like us who don't consume that much. So likes and dislikes. Now what happens is you're born with likes and dislikes. During your lifetime, you cultivate more. And the environment promotes it. Your parents say, your mother says, you like it, have it, beta. Don't like it, don't have it. So what is happening? The likes and dislikes are getting stronger, and you are adding more likes and dislikes to your system. Earlier, the system was not like that. Like food. Food would be cooked. And those days, there were joint families. If you liked it, good for you. If you didn't like it, you had the choice of not eating or eating what you don't like. Now, every home has a la carte menus. Husband has one thing, the wife has another thing, and now nuclear families. The one child orders pasta, another child orders pizza, finish, that's it. So you're constantly feeding the likes and dislikes. I'm not saying you should have what you dislike, please. That's not what the Gita says. But don't make these likes and dislikes, desires into a force to reckon with. Thereafter, what happens is you do things because you like them, you avoid things that you dislike. Now, you may say, what's wrong with this? What you like need not necessarily be what is good for you, like sweets. I am constantly hearing people in their 40s and 30s pre diabetic. And after 40, definitely diabetic. What kind of a lifestyle is this? Why is this happening? Because you're consuming the wrong kind of food. And as the doctor told me, we are suffering from two diseases, two types of things. One is toxemia. We are consuming too many things that are bad for us. I'm not talking about food, every which way. Gossip, negative talk, negative thinking, hatred, all this we lap it up. And of course, food, junk food. And what is good for you, there is deficiency of. And what the doctor told me was really an eye-opener for me, because he said the vitamin deficiency and stuff like that is among the affluent rich, not among the poor. Because the poor eat healthy food. Fortunately for them, they can't afford all the junk food that you're eating. So they eat good food. They don't have deficiencies. It is the rich who have deficiencies. Sad state of affairs. So it's a question of, there was an ad that came many years ago. How would you like? All weekends, no weekdays. All holiday, no work. What is the third thing? Something like that. This is what people want. And that's what the world is going towards. You know, we used to work 6 days a week, then it became 5 days a week. Now in America, there's what is it called? Friday. They go to work, it's called Friday dressing in absolute casuals because they're already in holiday mode. And they work only half day Friday. So after that, they're off. And then what happens is what happened today in the Sign Panvel highway. Traffic jam for 3 hours because everybody wants to go out on the weekend. 3 hour backup. We are the lucky ones who have free roads to drive in Bombay because all the fools have gone. See, I'm not saying you should not go, but that feeling that, oh, I have to go. Why must you go? Sit at home and holiday, na? Anyway, the same thing happens in New York, the big cities. Sunday afternoon onwards, there's traffic going back to the city. So, what the Gita says is, don't let likes and dislikes directly propel you to activity. Let it be scanned through the intellect. Let the intellect decide. You want to eat ice cream today, it's a Saturday evening. You haven't eaten ice cream for 2 months. The intellect says, by all means, go enjoy. So after the lecture, you go to, what is that? Copeto, buy ice cream, enjoy. I'm not advertising it. Huh? I'm not an agent for Copeto. I just pass by, that's how I know. But if every day you've been eating sweets, and tomorrow you're going to Swati Snacks to buy jalebi fafda, then your intellect should say, yesterday I had chocolate, day before that I had this thing, and tomorrow we are having peda. So no Copeto today. Simple. So easy. That's the way to go about it. Next verse, 35. One second. So, even Shakespeare, in Othello, Iago, the villain of the piece, he was jealous of Cassio because he was made captain over his head. And that too, a mathematician. He says he's not a soldier, he's a mathematician. So he's jealous of him and he wants to destroy him. So when he knows that Othello is coming, Othello is the boss, he gives alcohol to this Cassio and gets him drunk, merrily drunk. And he makes a fool of himself in front of Othello. Othello gets mad with him. And he faces the consequences. That's when he picks up the bottle and says, O thou invisible spirit of wine, if thou hast no other name to be called by, let us call thee devil. Shakespeare calls desire devil. And then he says, O God, that men should put an enemy in their mouths to steal away their brains. But especially giving you this quote because many of you are going to parties now. At least one person is going to a party. So remember Cassio saying that we should with joy, pleasure, revel, and applause transform ourselves into beasts. That's what happens when you drink too much. Huh? So, anytime you give in to desire, this is it. You transform into beasts. Next verse.
श्रेयान् स्वधर्मो विगुणः परधर्मात् स्वनुष्ठितात् स्वधर्मे निधनं श्रेयः परधर्मो भयावहः.
Swadharma, one's own duty, though without merit, is better than paradharma, another's duty well performed. It is better to die in swadharma, as paradharma is frightful, bhayavaha. Now, when he says it's better to die, he is referring to Arjuna, because Arjuna is going into battle, and in a battle, there are only one of two outcomes: either you live or you die. That's the only thing. But with reference to us, he's highlighting it because actually doing paradharma is worse than death. So, what is Swadharma? Swadharma is your core interest, your particular passion, your liking, your, you're born with it. Like Zakir Hussain was born, obviously, with an interest in playing tabla. Dr. Abdul Kalam was born with interest in science. What is her name? Malavika Sarukai was born with an interest in dance. Birju Maharaj, dance. Lata Mangeshkar was born with an interest in music. So you see this, right? Distinct passion for a particular thing. Now, what we do is when you are choosing a vocation, a career in life, what do you choose? That which you think there is scope in. This is a peculiar Indian mentality. So you say there is scope in engineering, so I must join IIT. Are baapre, there's one guy joined IIT when he had no interest in engineering. So instead of, those days there were 5 years, now 4, right? Instead of completing it in 5 years, it took him 10 years. Each year he repeated. And his father said, good grounding in engineering. Because it was the father who pushed him into it. This is ridiculous. And what he had interest in was music. So if Nadal had chosen music and Lata Mangeshkar had become an IT professional, we would have lost outstanding tennis player and outstanding musician. So similarly, every one of us is born with a distinct passion, swadharma. You must identify that. How to identify it? Actually, you should be helped from childhood onwards. But now, at least now, think back to what excited you when you were a child, when you were growing up. What were you drawn towards? Apart from other influences, external influences, within yourself, what were you drawn towards? And then you shortlist. You make a list, maybe 4 or 5 things. Repeat the exercise after 2 weeks without referring to what you've written. And you may have forgotten. Again, go over it. Revisit. Like this, you do it 3 or 4 times. And you'll shortlist 1 or 2 things, keep repeating every time. Between the two, one is your swadharma. Invest in it. Don't think of money. You do your swadharma, you invest in your swadharma, you will be successful. I'm not saying, see, every musician can't become a Lata Mangeshkar. Everybody has a certain limit. But chances of your success are greater in swadharma than paradharma. So if you choose a field alien to your nature, like if I had done chartered accountancy, I would have shot myself. I hate it. Beyond 4 zeros, I can't even read what it is. Between 1 lakh and 10 lakhs, I don't know the difference. So how can I choose that? To me, it is disgusting. So, fortunately for me, I chose a field in which I have total passion. Every day I wake up and I do nothing else. Excited that I have one more day to live my passion. You know, that's what it does. And then in your Swadharma, you must fix a higher goal. If you're selfish, then you get stressed out. What is that higher goal? In music, you must say, I must share this uh, wonderful enjoyment of music and the growth that music brings about to with my listeners. That's all there is. Or I must dedicate myself to just music, to being the best that I can. Like Nadal, he's dedicated to tennis, just doing being the best tennis player. It has nothing to do with money. When you do that, you gain fame, name, money, everything comes to you. That's what Dr. Viktor Frankl said. Prosperity is the unintended side effect of your dedication to a cause greater than yourself. What a thing. So, that is what you should dedicate yourself to. For which, first, identify your Swadharma. Now, Arjuna is a warrior. He wants to quit fighting and go to the Himalayas. The most ridiculous suggestion. He suggests, and not only he includes Krishna in that. He says, Krishna, you and I, both of us, let's go. Had it not been for Krishna, he would have made a disastrous decision, lost the kingdom, lost everything. That's the role of a guru, of a wise person. Now, you neither gain the knowledge nor do you seek the wisdom from a guru. You just do whatever you like to do and end up in trouble. So, identifying your Swadharma is one of the most important things in life. If you haven't already done it, please do it. And at least start it as a hobby. And then there is some relief to the frustrating daily routine that you've got yourself into. You know? And then we get accustomed to it and you accept it. And that's the worst. There's a movie called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And in that, this guy is a perfectly sane person. He's considered mad and thrown into a lunatic asylum. And then they do surgery on him and take away the will to fight. And that is the worst thing. So you must never lose that will to fight your challenges, to overcome the challenges, to become a better person. That must never leave you at any age. You could be 90 years old, doddering, but that spirit must always be there. That every day I have the power in me to become slightly better. That keeps you going. Right? So because they do surgery on him, another guy who's also not mad, he kills him. He understands it's not worth living if you don't have it. That this doesn't mean go kill yourself, please. Don't do that. What I'm saying is, you have that self effort, purushartha. Exercise it in a positive way and help spread this knowledge to others. And see how enthusiastic you become, how excited you become every day of your life. And you'll retain that youthful attitude. Youth is not about botoxing yourself. Youth is not about exercising like crazy just to lose weight and I don't know what you do to retain the youth. Youth is about that spirit of youth that you have in you. You may wear dentures, you may have gray hair, you may have whatever happens to you. Retain that youthful spirit. You're there. right? So with this, we have a few minutes, and what I'd like to share with you is tomorrow is the last day, and you have an opportunity to give. Get more people to come just tomorrow, just one day. Hmm? And at the end of tomorrow's lecture, as I said yesterday, we will distribute prasad to everyone. That prasad is a symbol of the peace and happiness that you get on the spiritual path. So it's not just a peda that you eat and be done with it. It is it a symbol of the happiness and peace that you get. So you must commit yourself to that happiness and peace. And the call to action is just these three: sincerity of action, purity of heart, clarity of thought. Remember this every day when you wake up and say, this is what I commit myself to. And see what a change occurs in your personality. In just a few days, you'll be a different person. Hmm? But don't expect miracles. Remember this verse which says, even a knowledgeable person continues the vasanas function. Okay? Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. Yes. Sorry, I can't hear you. Little louder. Isn't that what? Theory. No, no, no. It is practice. Sincerity of action means every action that you perform must be driven by the attitude of giving. Okay? So it has nothing to do with theory. It's 100% practice. And purity of heart is you must feel from the bottom of your heart for every single person you come across, even a casual thing. That's why I referred to just driving past. It should occur to you is what horrible conditions they're living in. Why can't something be done about it? So you may not be able to do anything, but at least you're feeling instead of this totally indifferent attitude that we have. And clarity of thought. You may have the good things of life, success comes to you, really, happy occasions come. You must understand they come and they go. That is part and parcel of life. Don't get overly attached to them. Don't hang on to them. Then you'll be miserable. Hmm? Yes, absolutely. So that is why we have a course for children from the age of 9 to 12, 13. Any one of you who wants to have it. Incidentally, I was going to announce this, that we have a course for children, we have a course for teenagers, we have a course for young adults. It's called what? Pathway to Excellence. So it's over a weekend, three sessions, three fairly long sessions. Anyone who's interested, you get a group of people together, we'll do it for them. Hmm? And please do it. We also conduct sessions for corporate executives in their workplaces, because if you ask them to come here, they don't come. So we go to where they are. We've tried our best. And we have an online course called Overcoming Challenges in Life, and we're going to come up with more. So you sitting at home, you can do it if you're so inclined. So we've got everything. So you need to pick it up. Hmm? Okay. Any other question? True. Yes. Ah, good point. See, what he's saying is, I don't know if everybody heard. He said, let's take the example of a CA who works for an organization. And he says, I will do my best for the sake of the organization. But the organization is profit oriented. So how does it work? See, it's not about what happens around you, it's about you. You have the attitude of giving, you will prosper. Never mind what the company does. And then, if you're constantly doing this, your field will change. So instead of working for an organization, profit oriented organization, you then move to something else. Like Gandhiji was a lawyer when he started, and he, in fact, went to South Africa as to work for his client for fees, and then he completely changed. You know, so I started my life after education, I was working for a corporate organization. And then I kept thinking, I said, what am I doing here? I'm a total misfit because my mind was different and what I was working was different. So it changed. It changes. But you don't start by thinking it will change because it frightens you then. You just do what you have to do. You will excel at it. You will reach the top. And then maybe you'll change the organization. You know, ITC, na? Yeah. Mr. Deveshwar, who is the head of ITC, whole thing is India Tobacco Corporation. Their main only business was cigarettes. He changed. Went into soaps, he diversified into so many other things. And he used to tell his people, he said, we must make an effort to change from cigarettes to something else. Hmm? Yes, yes. The environment also changes because you have a powerful effect on the environment. Yeah. If you have a talent in that, you continue that. But even that you do for the sake of your clients, for the well-being of your clients. If you're doing it for yourself, you must understand the risks. Yeah. Yes. That you need to understand what drives birth and death, and that after death you are actually moving to a more conducive environment. The person who has gone, his mission in life, in this life, is over. So it necessitated a change, and he's moved on to a better environment for his or her growth. And I am grieving only because of my attachment to that person. So then grief changes to dedication, that you say, okay, let me do whatever I'm doing for that person's welfare. Yeah. So then the grief, the memory remains, the pain goes. It takes time, but it happens. See, it's like this. If your son is going to New York to study further for his own improvement, why should you hold him back? You allow him to go, you want him to go to improve, but you feel the first time he goes, particularly, you feel sorrow. Why do you feel that? The pain? Because you're attached. Okay? You need to think about it. This is a loaded question. Someone else? Yes. No, please sit. Yes, it's true. This subject is a highly volatile subject. By the time you walk out of the door, you will have forgotten most of it. So, what needs to be done is in the immediate, you pick one or two ideas that have really struck you. And that is why I keep repeating. Like today, you go home with this: sincerity, purity, clarity. 3 words. And between the three, you think of one. So at least one idea you're going with. Okay? But the best way of going about it is each one of us, every single day, must expose ourselves to the knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita daily. It's absolutely necessary. You want to benefit from it, you want to transform, you want to change, you must do this. I have done it and I continue to do it every single day for the last, what did I say, 50 years. And still, I have some way to go. You know? So, uh, that's why we have the pen drives and things like that to help you. So, exactly the same way, it's been recorded and is available on pen drives. So, when you listen to it for half an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour, whatever it is. No, I'm not talking about purchasing. I'm not talking about actually doing it, listening to it. And then you write down whatever you've listened, you write down 2 or 3 points that have struck you. And during the day, you think about it. Just think in your free time. And then this thinking is what changes your life, changes your attitudes, changes your actions, changes your mind expands. Okay? Thank you. This gentleman has been coming for the, I don't know, for the past how many years. Hats off to him. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.